It's time to bash and praise the fall season. It's been over a week since the last update. I've ranked this from worst to best, starting with number 20. Can I make your ears happy in 180 seconds? That dreaded ASMR anime. I'm not into ASMR, and the episodes just feel awkward as the various girls try to please my ears. The episodes are only 3.5 minutes long, but unlike Ori Tsushima, that was well done, this is just trash. They at least eventually try to tell some type of story, but it fails ultimately. But it's more for degenerates that like little girls whispering in their ears. Number 19, from worst to best, The Aquatope on White Sand, a 3 out of 10. Really boring storytelling that you'd expect from the studio. The plot often goes out the window, and though it may have a feel-good feeling to it, by the end of it, it has no meaningful impact on the viewers. The second core is worse. At least in the first core, it was more interesting seeing Kukuru struggling with the Gama Gama, and the magical aspect of it was the most interesting part about it that has been sadly abandoned now, though it keeps shoving it in your face with the opening and ending. Now it's just Kukuru hating her job and doing boring office work with mediocre and bland slice of life moments. They failed to properly develop many of the characters, and that mysterious kid is still unexplained. What's the point? Number 18, 86 Part 2, 4 out of 10. Worse than Season 1. All the important development Shin got tossed out the window, and he returned to his same boring self for a very long time. The staff, besides struggling with the production because they tried to rush this, and you can obviously see it with all the boring slideshow scenes, slapped with overdramatic music, have failed to develop any of the other 86. None of the 86 really matter besides Shin. If the rest died, I just wouldn't care. The mecha designs are lazy and generic. They all look the same to the extent I get the Spider-Mechs confused with the ones on the opposing side. Frederica was introduced as an obnoxious character with a voice actor that literally screeches her lines. At least the staff seem to have noticed this because it's gotten better. Then there's the absence of Lena, who has been replaced with a sad excuse of a replacement. What makes 86 is the dynamic between the 86 and Lena, and yet she is not there. The writing and direction of the adaptation is just terrible. I actually want to read the light novel because this adaptation is garbage. The 86 have gotten stuck on slice of life nonsense since then, and it continues to struggle and go downhill as A1 desperately tries to pick this back up. Number 17, Tactop Destiny. From the beginning, the fact that this is being used to promote a gacha game should have been all the red flags the viewers needed to know to not expect much. This series is all animation and fails everywhere else. Tact is a boring character with 0 growth, and same with Destiny, who's yet another Violet Evergarden ripoff. They barely started developing them, but it's just too late. The damage has been done. Anna is beyond useless and one of the most irrelevant and poorly written characters I have ever seen. And she's been reduced to serve only the role of fan service. Lenny and Titan are sadly much better characters and should have been the main ones instead of the other two. The D2 are also a joke. And they're poorly written villains. There are no stakes or risks in the battles, and the plot is essentially a road trip to New York. All these side missions on the way feel irrelevant. Number 16, Scarlet Nexus, 4 out of 10. Among the worst series of all time, but it's entertaining trash at least. I am fascinated with how bad this is, and I look forward to each Trainwreck episode, unlike other series where I feel I have to force myself to watch. This plot is a big mess of a wreck and just smashes all sort of random sci-fi plots into it. The only likable character is Arashi, and it's a shame that a great character like her is stuck in this terrible series. Add terrible music, some of the worst voice acting ever, and some of the worst main characters, lazy slideshow battles with flashy lights thrown in, and what they shamelessly call animation, and some of the most terrible and laughable monster designs I have ever seen, and you get this disaster. Number 15, Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation Part 2, 4 out of 10. This series brings out the worst in people. A series to please the pedophiles and validate them. This series has one of the most disgusting fan bases I have ever seen. It manages to take advantage of Japanese law and a reincarnated pedophile, literally, who keeps his memories to try and shamelessly get away with this. Besides the over-the-top fan service, degenerate behavior from Rudos, and pretty production values, this series has nothing else going for it and its bland plot and characters. In fact, take the fan service out of this show and no one would really care about it. No one. Paul is a worthless womanizer and alcoholic. This is being hailed as the best isekai. Honestly, that is not saying much. The only characters that make this series bearable are Ruijerd and Roxy, the former being the only voice of reason among the rest of these fools, and the latter getting the Milizay from 86 treatment by barely being there. Number 14, Love Alternative, 4 out of 10. One of the worst adaptations of all time. Every week the fans are horrified by how terrible this is, and I've seen hundreds of meltdowns. There is far too much exposition in this anime. In the first episode was filler and irrelevant to the main plot, and it failed to draw a new audience. The whole point of episode 1 was to draw in a new audience, and it failed. And the art is laughable. It's trash. It's trash. Number 13, Deep Insanity, The Lost Child, 5 out of 10. A strange series with one of the most likable characters of all time. However, I am very worried about this series now. The main character is amongst the worst protagonist of the season and belongs in a pool of boring and bland, morally obsessed protagonists. But every now and then, it has moments of glory with its animation and sound. A shame because most of the time it's not, and the CGI monsters are worse than Scarlet Nexus. Number 12, Kyokai Senki, 5 out of 10. Another Code Geass-like clone, another boring and bland main character. I'm out. It felt hopeful to see this is 2D, and it didn't have terrible CGI, but it barely makes use of the 2D battles, and does a lazy job a lot of the time. It's the resistance versus the oppressor, but the series is hardly political or meaningful in that way. Not much really happens besides Amao saving people. Ghost is the only interesting and amusing part about it. There was a new episode today, and this new main character, the girl, the episode mostly focused on her, but everything else is mediocre. It's just boring. Number 11, Planet Man, 5 out of 10. Mirai is an insult to Light Yagami considering it's the same author. He's a spineless coward that would rather enable a mass murderer than try to kill him to prevent said murders, because he has this Barney and Friends mentality that he doesn't want to kill or hate anyone. The blood is on his hands. Metropolitan is the only likable character, and I would hope that he wins. Honestly, I really hope the Metropolitan wins. His plans and thinking ahead of the enemy are amusing to watch unfold. It's cat and mouse between the god candidates as they kill each other to get to the top. Considering the stakes and relationships between some of the god candidates, it will be interesting to see how this plays out, though the manga readers were disappointed at the ending. Number 10, Rumble Garando, 6 out of 10. An interesting plot about otakus coming together about their passions. The mechas are powered by battery girls and functional as long as said passions are kept ignited by the driver. I want to like Hosimichi, but I just cannot get into his character. The first 3 episodes were a wonderful start with good characters and comedic bits, but it's been declining ever since. It's a Japan versus Japan from another timeline. It's amusing that the other Japan is a Japan that won the World War in their time and has become portrayed as a brutal fascist government. What in the world is this? Otaku-related products become illegal, and things like idols also get banned, while their gigs get labeled as guerrilla gigs. Guerrilla gigs! Number 9. Shiki Zakura, 7 out of 10. The main cast go around in Kamen Rider suits, fighting the Oni, a group of monsters that act completely rude and over the edge as they try to invade and take over humanity and their bodies. The humor works, and they make the effort to develop the characters at least. The transformation scenes look great despite being CGI and use great music. Kakeru still kinda suffers from being a bland protagonist, but the boy tries his hardest. Ibara is part of what makes the series with his over the edge and violent attitude. The episodes are hit or miss, and sometimes it feels like a bland kid show. It mixes CGI and 2D, and sometimes the entire episodes can be 2D. Number 8, Komi Can't Communicate, 7 out of 10. A wonderfully directed school comedy. The staff do a good job where Nagatoro and the Duke of Death and Dismayed failed. Despite the repetitiveness of the comedy, there is attention to detail, and the jokes are always directed so well, and creatively, it still looks fresh. It might burn itself out in the end, however, that's my main worry. The only characters I like are Komi, Tadano, and Najimi, but they are among the best characters of the season. Number 7, Sakugan, 7 out of 10. A fun series carried by the dynamic of a father and daughter traveling underground as they look for a mysterious destination. Lately, it's become an episodic series similar to Dirty Pair. I would hope that that's not the case because it's been declining lately, since the plot is barely moving. But at least the comedy is hilarious. Number 6, Megaton Kyo Musashi, 7 out of 10. Yamaro is a hot-headed protagonist, absolutely determined to genocide the aliens despite that some of them want peace. He's a breath of fresh air among all the other cowardly and morally obsessed protagonists. He's a lot of fun, and his voice actor reminds me a lot of Yabuki Joe. The story is yet another aliens versus humans tale, where some of the people on both sides prefer peace. The CGI animations are massive, destructive, chaotic, and chunky, but I like it. Some of the characters look very beautiful, many of them are very likable, and overall it's been a fun ride. Number 5, Lupin III, Part 6, 8 out of 10. A lot of people are scared to watch this because they haven't seen anything before it. But this is an episodic series that is very, very easy to follow. It's a wild series of cops and robbers that doesn't take itself seriously. There is zero tension, stakes, or risks, because Lupin and them will find some Looney Tunes tier way of getting out of trouble. But the writing for the episodes has been amazing, and the cleverness of the dialogue is among the best I have seen for the season. Number 4, Behold Divide, Cold Black, 8 out of 10. Teruto is my favorite protagonist of the season. He's a lovable and strange kid who lost his memories and is obsessed with defeating the king and following his path. He's a man of few words with an odd fixation on bread. His lines as he battles in this card game are hilarious, corny, and everything he does is funny because of how weird it is. I still don't know if this is being done on purpose by the staff or if they are sincere about trying to make him look cool. Another amusing part about him is that the series always portrays him like a villain. The world looks fake and is a city surrounded by nothing. Sakura is implied to be some sort of hologram, and the music is amazing. The battles are interesting enough, and though I don't know much about the game itself, I can manage to follow along and learn along the way. It will be 2-core, and I'm already looking forward to the next one. Moving right along. Ooh, give me 1 second. Alright, I'm in the right spot. Number 3, Tesla Note. 9 out of 10 for Tesla Note. Ranked number 3, by the way. This is the most controversial on this list because of how high I regard it. Don't be fooled by the hilariously atrocious mix of CGI and 2D. This series excels in everything else. Recently, I've been crying from laughter with every episode because this is a classic example of so bad is good content. The voice acting is top tier and the writing is amazing. All the characters are lovable and well written. Kuruma and Botan have one of the most amusing dynamics this season. Mickey is hilariously weird, Oliver is pure, and even characters like Pino that did little left an impact on the viewers. I don't usually like reaction content on YouTube because it's mostly lazy, boring content that wastes your time. But it's a shame that they aren't picking up on this because it would be an exception. This has become the series I look the most forward to catching up on. Number 2, Heike Monogatari, 9 out of 10. This is a beautiful passion project that feels like a dream that is slowly turning into a nightmare. It has the opening and ending of the season for me, and is greatly underappreciated for what it's trying to do. There's a wide cast of likable characters, and it's a very unique series. I like the music, though sometimes the choice in genre is strange. It's based on an old Japanese story that though looks complicated to a lot of people, you can follow along if you just try to put in a little thought. There are times it moves really fast, but I have been enjoying this one a lot. Number 1, also my ranking, 9 out of 10. Destined for Greatness. It has one of the most likable protagonists, though he appears to be useless and often gets frustrated. You have to respect Boji's determination. It's an emotional journey that swells the viewers with feelings. It has breathtaking animation. Bose vs. Api's fight was executed amazingly. Decent music and a wide cast of colorful and ambitious characters. Boji and Kage are a great duo, and there is a lot of meaning and value between their friendship. There hasn't been a single bad or average episode yet. That's the update. Thank you for listening.